Hi, again, I'm Celeste, and I love how we're going to start off probably every show. My friend told me to do like at a higher angle. I don't know about that. Whatever, it's fine. With the start of my feet before I turn it to, selfie mode. Maybe if I did it in a different room and the light wouldn't distract me so much. I have ADHD, if you couldn't tell. Let's try the diffuse light. Okay, that's better. Now I can put my feet up. Really, wheelchairs are kind of a pain. Okay, so episode 2 of The People I Meet. So one day I was moving out of this horrendous place. It was awful. And I had to take a bunch of my stuff to my storage unit, and my Uber driver was awesome and really helped me out, getting out and all of that stuff. When we got to my storage unit, another car had gone in, and I was like, it was like 5 in the morning or 5:30 or something ridiculously early. So I wasn't quite thinking rationally, and I didn't tell him to put in my code, and he just followed the guy, and that guy started yelling at us. He's like, what are you doing? What are you doing? You can't be in here on my code. And my driver was like, what are you talking about? The gate was already open. And I'm like, shh, shh, shh. And it took him a minute before finally he stopped talking. And I was like, I'm sorry, sir. Won't happen again. And, still had security called on us. And then he turns to me. He's like, what is he upset about? The gate was already open. And I was like, really? Do you think everyone had my phone number as the code? Like, how convenient would that be for me? No, everyone has a different code. That's what he was mad about. We were here on his code. Yeah, he didn't get it. Then he threw something out the window, and I was like, dude, go pick that up. Like, don't be throwing trash out here, because there's cameras, and now it's me, but it's on his code, so, that's good. And he was like, I'm doing what the billboards say at home. And I'm like, what's that? Keep Pennsylvania clean. And I was like, okay, so you're going to trash up Utah? And he was like, yeah, that's how it goes. And I'm like, dude, go get it. And he's like, you get it. And I'm like, I'm not the one who littered, and I'm in a wheelchair. I'm not getting my crippled ass out the car to pick up your trash. So, point of the story is, that trash stayed there, and it didn't get picked up. But he's really not even the closest of the weird people I meet. For some reason, people like to tell me their fetishes. I'm the kind of person, I guess. Everyone has something on their forehead, I guess, a sign. Many people say F off. Mine says, tell me something weird. Because they all do. But here's the thing. Here's the difference between a pervert and a nice guy. It's timing. A pervert says the weird things straight up. A nice guy waits until it's appropriate. A pervert does the weird things like upon meeting you, maybe without permission. A nice guy waits until he knows you and has consent, and really it's timing, because they do and say the exact same things. So one time I mentioned, before I was living in this assisted living, I was living in a straight up nursing home, and I was still on OkCupid, and I still am, for friends, for visitors. It's pretty boring living in a retirement center, to be, I know, you thought I led a really exciting life. And so I mentioned straight up, I live in a nursing home. I'm really just looking for friends. I felt safe there. I had a call button, not that they would come running if something happened, because it took them 10 minutes after I broke my ankle, but whatever, medical fields are always understaffed. So one guy starts chatting me up, and he's like, so what do you know about blood pressure machines? And I'm like, not much. I just stick my arm out when they come rolling in. I don't do anything. What are you CNA? Are you pre-med? And he's like, it's one of my fetishes. I'm like, okay, I'm just going to slide right past that. And then he's like, hey, if I send you something to edit, will you edit it for me? I'm like, okay, sweet. Dude read my profile, knows that I like to edit papers and I do things like that. And I otherwise have a $20,000 English degree wall decoration. I gotta use it sometimes, right? So he sends me this thing to edit, and he asks me to read it out loud for him. And it's horrible writing. There's no way I'm gonna read through it and then read it out loud. So I'm like, dude, I'll just read it out loud and we will edit it as we go. And I start to do it, and he's like, can you do voices and sound effects? And so I do it. And I kid you not, I can hear him like whacking off, right? I worked at Convergys long enough to know what that sounds like. Graveyard call centers. But I keep doing it because this was before the point that I would tell men to stuff it, and I was polite when they were making me uncomfortable, and I gave everyone a chance, and I was just ghosted right before actual sex, but I was polite up until that point, so I keep doing this, right? I keep reading this to him. And at the end, he tells me what he's been doing, and I'm like, yeah, I know. Like, and I'm like, here's the thing is, the story is about a couple of nurses who put an EKG machine on a dude, except it's not an EKG machine, it's balloons, and the balloons get bigger and bigger, and he's just really getting off on this crap, and they set his energy, right? And so I'm like, okay, what you're kind of missing is what writers need is a plot. And he's like, oh, it needs a plot? Yeah, it needs a plot. And he's like, well, I don't really want to write something and then tear it down and write it again. And I was like, that's exactly what writing is. Sorry, that's exactly what it is. And he's like, well, I just wanted, and I was like, to get off. And he was like, well, yeah. And I was like, here's the thing. Drop $20 in my GoFundMe account. You can easily Google my name, Celeste Kirby, GoFundMe shows up. Drop $20 and there, we're good. You know, I'm hard up. I'll do it again. Tell your friends. You know, I felt like a straight up phone sex operator, but I'll do it again. Just drop $20 in my GoFundMe. And he's like, well, I don't really have any friends. And I was like, do you start with this fetish? And he's like, well, it needs to be explored. And I was like, okay, that's why you don't have any friends. Side note, I never did actually meet the dude. I'm like, he probably wonders why. But I'm like, dude, like, you cannot do that. It's weird, okay? Like, you have to start with something normal. But it needs to be explored. And I was like, you know what? Explore it on your own time, because it's weird. Again, the difference between pervert and I don't know about normal, but pervert and not creepy is timing. One time, a friend of mine, we'd been friends since we were 15, we were 30 at this point. He's like, I gotta tell you something, you know, and takes me to like a quiet corner, and I'm like, what's up, bro? And he's like, I'm gay. And I was like, yeah, no, I knew that 15 years ago. Tell me something I haven't heard before. Well, I walked into it, and he was like, I'm attracted to grown men in diapers. I was like, okay, haven't heard of that one before. That's so many follow-up questions. How did you discover this? Do you hang out at nursing homes? Aren't you attracted to men our age? Are they only old men? Like, where do you find grown men in diapers to even know that you're attracted to that? You know, I don't want to know. I don't want to know. I asked you to tell me something I hadn't heard before, and you delivered, and let's go back to the part where you're gay, because that's cool. I can handle that. Yeah. So, I do it to myself by asking for something I haven't heard before. So, I'm going to give you another tip of the day. If you have a fetish, any fetish, whatever, tell people after you've known them for 15 years. They'll still probably think you're weird, but you know, there's a higher likelihood that they'll remain friends with you and you're not just some weirdo that tried to chat them up. So, don't start with your fetishes. That's my tip for today, and we'll meet again for another People I Meet.